I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is reflection. And that word has a lot of meanings. In this case, we're just looking at how uh, life can reflect to us where we are. So we can have a look at that. It allows us to shift from possibly victim to opportunity. So before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding into your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, and bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, all your electrons, and having you just beam out into the world this brilliant, brilliant light. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining stress, tension, negativity, fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together and very, very softly rub your fingers against your palms to feel the deliciousness of that sensation and the tickling and the tingling, and to allow yourselves to become present right here, right now, in these remarkable physical forms that are the vehicle through which we experience life. So welcome, welcome. Good morning, Bernadette. So wonderful to have you here this morning, and wonderful to have everybody else who's joining us. It's great to be here with you. And today's topic is reflection. So years ago, I had a friend who was a shaman, and he used to say, everything is symbolic and nothing is symbolic. And I know that we can make ourselves crazy trying to find the meaning behind things. And often that impulse is tinged with blame and, like, what did I do wrong? Or, assumptions about ourselves. But if we can allow ourselves to move into the perception of what happens in life as feedback. Good morning, Rosalind. So good to have you here with us. Welcome. So we're talking about reflections and being able to receive what's going on in the world as feedback, rather than as tragedy or triumph, or like that we can connect maybe. Good morning, Robert. Boy, it's been a while since we've had you here. So good to have you back. We're talking about reflections and how when we receive what is happening in the world as feedback, it's not that that's the truth with a capital T. It's that it can be a useful frame to view things through. Because when we can evaluate things as feedback, we release ourselves from blame and shame. Maybe not completely, but it gives a whole different perspective. I mean, even the feeling of guilt or shame that we might experience is also feedback, right? So I know that when we get into certain emotional states, we tend to believe that that's all there is. Like, if I've seen so many times when people feel down, they feel like it's never ever going to end, or when they feel up, they don't want it to ever end. We've kind of skirted around that this week, but as really we're in a constant flow of experience, right? And if we can recognize what's going on in our environment, then I think we can utilize it as feedback to see, hey, are we on the right track? Do we need to maybe make some corrections? You know, like if I do something and then I feel really bad about it, that feeling really bad about it is feedback. It's not necessarily an indictment of who I am in my essence. We're not our behaviors. And that's a big, big and important thing to remember. You know, sometimes we behave badly. That's in big air quotes. You know, in other words, we behave in ways that we would prefer not to have, where we get reactive and whatever. And it's very helpful to recognize that we are bigger than our behaviors, that there might be times when we don't act from our highest intention, and we can take that as feedback too, right? That we can say, oh, okay, so there was something here that triggered me. It's a heads up to something that we can look at to make adjustments for ourselves. So I'm wondering for you, what kinds, how might that shift your experience of living? Like if we didn't hang out in self-blame, but we were able to look at, oh wow, I got real reactive. I must have some kind of trigger that I get to clear, right? It's feedback. It's a reflection. So, you know, if I'm inclined to say that if we have lots and lots of drama in our lives, then that is a feedback. It's a reflection of the way that we are interpreting things, right? Bernadette says we're all creatures of validation. And I would tend to agree with you, Bernadette, that we're always getting feedback, right? And sometimes that feedback's great and sometimes it's not so great. And when it's not so great, we still have the ability to use that feedback in such a way that we can turn it to the positive. And I think that that's a discipline. You know, I think that that's something that is practiced, to be able to look at a situation, even if it's a painful situation, and say, what can I learn from this? You know, how can I use this information and this experience to enrich myself, to grow in the direction that I desire to grow? How can I utilize this information to expand myself? You know, with the tendency, I think, when we have those kinds of occurrences, you know, where we're not expressing the desired aspects of ourselves, the tendency is to judge ourselves and beat ourselves up and feel wrong and bad and feel less worthy. And, you know, we make all kinds of meaning. But if we look at life as reflections, again, good morning, Elaine. So good to have you here with us. As always, we're talking about how the world and our experience is a reflection. I love your little mirror in there, Elaine. Is a reflection of where we are in the world. And we don't have to take that as, you know, the tendency probably is to want to judge these things and thereby judge ourselves. And I'm encouraging that rather than judging ourselves, we just simply look at this as a reflection, as feedback. And thereby we have the ability to neutralize the limiting impact of these kinds of encounters, circumstances, events, whatever. And to be able to get the lesson more quickly and to move on. We can be more resilient when we allow ourselves to not make these circumstances of life be about our innate being or our innate character, right? So I'm wondering if you have had experiences where you've been deep into self-judgment, and maybe you could take this opportunity to shift and see that there's not really an absolute, but these circumstances are a reflection of our own judgment of ourselves ultimately. That as we perceive the world, it mirrors our own perceptions back to us. So Elaine says, yes, I am so grateful for all the reflections on the journey. No need for judgment from me. And that's a great place to be, Elaine, because then there's just the opportunity to learn and expand and grow. So, if we recognize these reflections, we can say, oh, is that what I would desire? Is that what I would prefer? And if it isn't, then we can potentially look at the mechanism that generated that circumstance. It's like it allows us to step back from attachment to ourselves. I don't know about you, but in a lot of in the past, when I had certain encounters, there was a real need to be right. And I had a real need to be right and to justify my position when there was a confrontation. And it's interesting because we walk a delicate path or delicate line between healthy boundaries, may I say, and kind of understanding the whole dynamic. And if we can recognize that on some level it's all a reflection of us, it might give us a little bit more latitude to see things that we didn't see before, that we can open ourselves to reflect upon ourselves in a way that we might not have if we felt like we had to be right. So Bernadette says, I find when that happens, I need to look within and what, why, and who triggered my decisions. I tend to not look for others' opinions so I can stay true to myself and not assess another opinion. So sometimes we seek feedback from others, sometimes we seek opinions from others, but Bernadette, it sounds like you're staying in a place of alignment with yourself and looking to recognize what the dynamic was that can give you perspective on a given situation. So good for you to be able to be in that place. It's sometimes challenging, right? Sometimes we get super triggered and then we go off on our robotic response, right? This programmed response. And it's like, oh my gosh, who did I become? I completely lost myself in that interaction. The train gets rolling and it just keeps barreling down the track. And sometimes we don't get to recognize it until after the fact. Rosalind says, reflection, like thinking about a situation or seeing people as mirrors reflecting back to us. Really, I'm talking mostly about people and situations as mirrors reflecting back to us, but then that triggers our own reflection, which is thinking about something ourselves, right? So Rosalind continues by saying, I'm adjusting the way I communicate. I'm told my emails are too lengthy. Rather than give all the info, I'll share 10%, get feedback, and then share an equal amount. If someone really wants to know something, the expectation is there would be a phone call or meeting to talk about an issue more in depth. There are just some things lost in an email. I can't agree with you more, Rosalind. What I notice is, and it's happened a lot, when I take the time to craft a somewhat lengthy email, I get responses that are clear indicators that people haven't read the whole thing. So especially with emails, people want sound bites, is my experience. It's short and sweet, and let's connect to discuss further or something like that. And I think we're contending there with attention span for sure. So learning, you've gotten feedback, learning that maybe this isn't the most, like that a lengthy email isn't the most effective way to get the communication across that you want to get across. You've adjusted your style of communication, which is awesome, to be utilizing the feedback to serve your objectives. And Bernadette says, true self. Indeed, that's, so it's interesting when we talk about true self. We often talk about it in a way that we're acting as if it's a static thing. And the truth is, it's not static. And so whatever our beingness is, it's changing to respond to our experience, right? Like there's not a static, at least that's my hypothesis. I'm not saying it's absolute and true. You get to feel that out for yourself. But I think that maybe it's worth trying on the idea that the true self is this fluid responsiveness to life living itself through us. I've found that as I connect more deeply to that idea, my experience of life has shifted a lot, as life living itself through us. And then I don't have to be a certain way. I get to be response. I get to be life. Elaine says, allowing all to be as information to be used if useful, or let it go. All is for my good, to remember and know myself as love, as all is truly pure love. And so I have heard that so many times, and I'm inclined to believe that. And I'm maybe even more aligned with the idea is all is presence. And maybe presence is love. I don't know. I don't know. And I know that when people are in that place of presence, there's a blissfulness about it that might be characterized as love. So yeah, I think that that's an interesting conversation to have as well. That when we get to be presence, we are the vehicle of life living itself through us without resistance. And then there's all kinds of connection and magic and amazing things. So Bernadette says, sorry for changing the subject for a second. Does Maggie shred things? Yeah, she is really destructive. Maggie loves to dump things off of my shelves. She's broken a lot of stuff. She loves to eat the beads off of a wall hanging that I have, beads and sequences. And so Bernadette says that's a sign of her about to lay an egg and wanting a mate. That's interesting. I don't know if she shreds things as much as she destroys things. She likes to shred paper, but she's always liked to do that. And I don't know what to do about the whole egg thing. Yeah, I'm open to some guidance around that. So I don't know if I told you guys that I'm making these NFTs, non-fungible tokens that are all images of Maggie. They're going to be called Maggies. I'm making 11,111 of them, and I'm going to be using them, selling them to raise money for the eco park that I've been dreaming of since 2017. Well, I think I've been dreaming of it since before 2017, but I finally took it on that I was going to actually do it by 2017. So very cool, talking about reflections, right? You know how sometimes in your life things feel really stagnant and you want things to go faster, you're desiring that things would go faster, and things just are not materializing, they're not showing up. And then there are other times when there's a flow and things are showing up, and all kinds of miraculous things are happening. And so yesterday I had two meetings, two conversations with people that were around these projects that I want to do. And I'm building a team of people to do this NFT project. We get to do a bunch of promotion and on Discord and Telegram and Twitter and Instagram. And I have to tell you, I am not a social media person. I am just not. Like I'm more of a hermit. And maybe you don't realize that because I'm talking to you every day, but I am not somebody that engages in all that stuff. And so it's interesting, it's interesting to be able to look at the possibilities of engaging people who enjoy that kind of thing, to fill in the gaps, so that I get to do what I enjoy and they get to do what they enjoy. And anyway, I was just feeling like this is a reflection of where I am, like that there's really something starting to gain momentum, that something in me has shifted to enable that, like looking at what is life reflecting back to us in terms of opportunity or possibility. So it's pretty exciting when stuff like that happens. And what I'm noticing, which is also really, really cool, is that probably in the past I would have been beside myself and probably anxious and the emotions would be a lot higher. And now I'm excited, and there's a calm and a peacefulness about it, like it's a done deal, it's happening. And that's pretty amazing, to be able to relax into what life is serving up to us, right? Or that we are manifesting in life. Again, we've talked about holding with open hand, and sometimes that's really, really challenging, right? Because we have such a strong desire for certain outcomes, and we want, again, that lack, we want to make things happen on our schedule rather than on, divine timing, whatever you want to call it. So Elaine says, those that get anger because I'm not reflecting back what they want to see or hear, beautiful power experiences, mastering being peace in and through all experiences. Yeah, so very interesting, Elaine. So some people, if I am understanding what you're saying, that you're not falling into the drama, and people are getting upset with you for that, because you're not reflecting back what they want to hear. And I believe, yeah, congratulations that you get to have these powerful experiences where you are being presence, you are being peace, and the world around you is maybe trying to rattle you, but it's not having that result. So congratulations for that. That's pretty awesome, to be in that place of presence, to know that you don't have to be at the effect of external circumstance, right? That we have choice, that we have, ultimately we have choice, and we get to presence ourselves to that choice, to that presence. We talked about that yesterday with the patterned reactivity, right? Where we get the opportunity to repattern it, to say, well, hold on, wait a second. Like even that pattern interrupt, to say, hold on, what is there here for me? And again, I'm just going to reiterate the I call it an anthem that I live by these days, which is life is not happening to me, it's happening for me and through me. And whether it's true or not, if you were to adopt that perspective that life isn't, you're not at the effect of life, it relieves us of the victimhood, and that everything then can become a gift. And we get to look at what that gift is, and also recognize that other people's responses are about them, right? If somebody gets all, like Elaine, if somebody gets all pissed off and angry at you because you're not engaging with them on the level that they want to engage, that's really a reflection of their experience, right? And you get to entertain it if you want to see, well, what's there? You know, what can I learn from that? Is there a hidden treasure in that circumstance? But other people's stuff is really about them. And when we have the ability to recognize that that's about them, not about us, then we can perhaps interact with those kinds of situations in a way that's much less reactive. So Rosalind says, I was triggered when someone told me that people have lost the art of communication, talking in person. This is back to the work thing. I would rather hide behind the computer screen, but realizing it isn't the most effective way to collaborate and progress toward an outcome. Yeah, I think it's really interesting to look at how, as a culture, we have through COVID become very separate from each other. Even though we meet on Zoom, it's a whole different thing to be in the physical presence of other people, for sure. And I don't know if we've lost the art of communication, talking in person, but it's a very different kind of experience in contrast to uh, all this remote virtual connecting that we've been doing over the past year and a half, 2 years. So it very, very interesting to be looking at what those skills are and what's shifted and what are the underlying assumptions that may support our communication or may impede it. So Elaine says, I can honor where others are and allow it to be as is and not join in without judgment, in honor as life unfolds in and through me. Yes. So ultimately, to your point, Elaine, when we reach a place of presence, we can allow somebody to be doing them and know that them doing them isn't about us. And that gives us the space to be more present to what kind of response might be appropriate, right? Because we're not getting all plugged in and reactive. We're not getting all triggered. We're just being there with somebody doing them. And we may not enjoy that. And we don't have to choose to be with them ongoingly, right? But it creates so much more spaciousness for us as we can allow other people to just be, right? And the key to that is allowing ourselves to just be, which is easier said than done, right? Because we're pretty much acclimated and trained into judging ourselves and criticizing ourselves. And from that self-judgment and criticism comes judgment and criticism and separation from others. So it's a tangled web we weave, is it not? Anyway, it's Friday. And so I want to wish you guys an awesome, awesome weekend. I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for being here with me and contributing to these conversations and really being an engaged part of what's feeling like a community here. Like we have regulars and we're getting to know each other, and it's really, really a beautiful thing. Elaine says, I see people in person all the time as I choose my own reality, not good or bad, just experiences I choose to have. And ultimately that's the place to be. So Bernadette says, have a great weekend, everyone. And I'm wishing that to all of you. And I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. And I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page. And I invite you to please check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network and Enlightened World Living and EWN One with the Earth. And until next time, just so much love to you. I hope to see you back here again real soon. Have a great week.